Hey, so this is another video about the lathe. This is a Wolf John 8mm Geneva style watchmaker's lathe that I paid 300 Swiss francs for. And then I bought a counter shaft for another 100. And this is just a thing that transmits power through the belt from the motor. So I can directly drive it with the motor with a belt this length, but I wanted to move the motor back on my main bench and then use the counter shaft. So there'll be 2 loops of belt, and that gives you the option of kind of changing the gear differential rate or keeping it the same between the motor and the lathe. And then the counter shaft also allows you to power additional vertical element that's also rotating. So for making gears or doing other operations that will also distribute the power like that. So that's why I saw that, and it was inexpensive, so I thought that would be a good thing to get also. But today this is another deep dive. If you're not interested in lathes, don't watch it. But I'm going to disassemble it and clean it and then put it back together again. And the other thing, in my previous video, the tailstock wasn't aligning, but I took it apart. I'll do that again in a moment here, but I just wanted to start by saying there's this test you can do, which is stick a razor blade in between the head and the tailstock and bring something on the headstock to a point so that that's your true point. And then the tailstock's true point is whatever it is with this runner in it. And then pinch a razor blade, which is what I've done here. And if it doesn't deflect, then you're right on. So the way that I did it, it was off. I unscrewed the 2 screws in the tailstock, and then there's a plate that goes in line with this flat edge of the Geneva style bar, and that plate can be adjusted with shims, and there was a shim in it on the bottom, and I moved it to the top, and that made the correct correction that I needed. The shim is almost like a piece of tinfoil, but brass, super thin. But basically, if any adjustment you need to make, you can make with additional shims if necessary. So as long as it's vertically correct, which this one is, then the horizontal can be changed with shimming. And I think, and then I just wanted to explain, this is just a thing I bought at the Salvation Army tray to just temporarily put it on when it's at this bench, because it's going to live on my other bench, or it's actually going to live in its box. But on my other bench, there's a built-in Bergeon watchmaker's clamp on the edge of the bench. On this one, I just used a $5 clamp from the hardware store. But I screwed it down, and then the motor bracket can be released and moved back and forth. So I did that just to be able to demonstrate stuff here. And for now, I'm just going to use it as I disassemble the lathe to have it in a good position where you can see it. All right, so first of all, I want to show, before I disassemble it, and then we'll hopefully get back to this condition at the end also, the headstock and the tailstock aligning. So to do this test, first of all, I'm going to take the razor blade out, slide this back and forth. So you can see it matches up there. Oh, I know what I wanted to show was the tolerance. So I have a 1/2 millimeter. This screwdriver tip is a 1/2 millimeter. So that'll give you an idea of what, if you were doing this yourself, this will give you an idea of what kind of tolerance I have here, and I think this tolerance could be better. But this is a starting point. And since I'm gonna, so that's a 1/2 millimeter. The tips are meeting in a 1/2 millimeter area. And if there's some, oh, this is not tight. Sorry, that's because I loosened it to remove the razor blade. So in my view, this could still be off by like 0.2 of a millimeter or something. But the headstock, the reason I was wiggling the headstock around is that, see, it's moving like that. And when I was pushing on it, a viewer noted that, you know, when I was actually trying to run it in the other videos, when I pushed on the work piece, it was pushing the headstock in. That means that this when I'm cleaning the headstock, I need to make sure that when I reassemble it, it's all tight and it doesn't move like that. And then we'll recenter everything afterwards. But the main point is, and then we'll get to that right now, is the tailstock being somewhat adjustable with shims. So it has these 2 screws, which had obviously been used before, and they hold this plate. So if you remove those screws, that plate will come completely out. There was this thin brass shim right across this joint from left to right that I found inside. It dropped out when I removed the screws, and I moved it up here. And that's because in my last video, you could see that I wanted this tailstock to rotate slightly. I think it was, I wanted it to rotate this way. Yeah. I wanted to rotate that way. So I wanted this to be shimmed slightly in this direction. So I moved the shim from the bottom to the top. And that did it. And I'll just show you, one thing I was worried about was that these screws would be, they were hard to turn at first. But I have a good, I don't know if that's carbon or whatever, but a good screwdriver with a good tip on it. And I mounted it on the bar, and then I was very slow and careful, and those screws did unscrew. Now I suppose, okay, I was going to say, I suppose I should take it apart again for cleaning, which I should. I should take everything that comes apart. And then we'll get, in terms of the cleaning, everything will come apart. It'll get cleaned with this white spirit. I'm not sure what this is in English. But anyway, we'll soak it in that, get all the gunk off of it, all the dirt, and then I'll re-lubricate it using mobile Velocite number 6, which the easiest place I could grab it was from the sewing machine store, because they actually say that is Velocite number 6. I paid 8 Swiss francs for this. You could probably buy like this much for 8 francs in a normal place. But I think this will be enough, because it just has to go on the spindle part of it. And then the other stuff I'll kind of just use 3-in-1 if I oil it at all. I mean the outside of it to keep it from rusting or whatever. So I'm conscious of the fact that this is a different setup. I want to make sure that you can see everything. Okay, so there's the 2 screws, there's the plate, and the shim is kind of, it's already stuck in there, but that'll drop right out. I just wanted to show you that's where I moved it to. Now drop that shim out. And I'll disassemble this more in a second. I just want to show you how thin this shim is. Ridiculous. But that's what was in there, so that's the real deal. Washer. I don't want to mix up these parts, so I'm going to leave it loose. Now let's see. Smells like paint thinner. I should use gloves. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is that I got some information that's on my screen from lathes.co.uk and some pictures and stuff. So this is a watchmaker's lathe with an indexing wheel that helps you place it at different positions to cut teeth in a wheel. And so that big wheel is an accessory. It has all these holes in it, and then you put pins in the holes to hold it in a specific position. Then you use this counter shaft and pulley system to drive the vertical element of the lathe that cuts the actual slots for the gear teeth. And what was that? Image 2. These are so the website is let me paste this into my browser. Lathes.co.uk. I'll put it in the description also. I think this is probably the best thing for educating yourself about lathes, except for perhaps my videos. No, it just has an overwhelming amount of information. So this is on the homepage, lathe.co.uk. If you scroll down, you have all these brands, like hundreds, and Wolf John, which is what the lathe I have, is one of them. Wolf John. Okay, so then Wolf John, there's Mr. Albert John in all his glory. But then if you go to within this page, Wolf John Watchmaker's lathes, you start getting into this. So this is like the counter shaft with a lathe very similar to mine in the background here, and a used lathe in a box, whatever. Lots of pictures on here. So as you're looking at things, trying to figure out what they are, what they do, this is just an incredible resource. This whole website, not just the Wolf John page, the whole thing. The only thing is it could be overwhelming. So that's why I hope that maybe by watching my video, it's kind of specific enough that you can, with me, you can focus on one lathe for a few minutes and learn about it. Okay, so these are dust covers. Don't see any difference between the front and the back. They're split, so they're like tension, held on by self-tension. Oh, and then I need to take the chuck out. So this dust cover won't come off until I take this off. And then I also need to remove these screws. And this is with no experience, so I'm just, when it comes to taking things apart, I just remove obvious things and hope it comes apart. None of those screws want to come out right now, so that's a problem. This looks like it's threaded. This piece, even though it's also like a split piece, I could grab this with a tool and probably unscrew it. Eventually I'm going to have to get to these though. Let's see what's happening here. I have a small vice grip. It's interesting, it's like watchmaking. The video is going to give me something to refer back to. I don't see any difference left and right with this thing. Goes on that way. Goes on that way. I'm going to put a surface down here, take that dust cover off. Now, these guys, I can use this to put torque on the screwdriver, but it's not necessarily That sounds like Siri trying to... It's probably listening to everything I'm saying right now. Okay. Okay, I'm stuck. Because I'm going to look at, even though Chris Spinner had a Pulley lathe, not a Wolf John, I'm going to look at his video.
Regeln statt aufschieben. Die Organspende. Jetzt.
I got messages from this viewer, Vladislav, who kindly called me on the phone and was giving me a bunch of advice about the lathe, which was great. Okay, Chris, I want to see how he gets the headstock apart. Dust cover. Dust cover. There's a screw in there. Okay, maybe that's the 4 screws I took. Yeah, see, that makes me nervous. That makes me very nervous. So he's banging it back, let's see, this way. And then pulling this out. I got this little guy. So the thing is, I'm also looking in here. Is there any other screw, release screw in there? No. See, the thing about what I'm like, what's that? I saw myself on video and I thought I was watching something else. Okay, let's look if his lathe is the same. If you push that in, what happens? it actually goes into the headstock. But I'm not convinced that that can happen here. I guess it could happen. I guess it could slide in right there. I have a feeling those are points, like I've seen that there's like a oil, a lot of lathes have like two little oil cups here. This has like a hole there and a hole here. So I have a feeling those are like, because it doesn't have oil cups. Okay, so I gave up on the disassembling the headstock. I'm just gonna, I cleaned it externally. I'm gonna lubricate it through those little holes, which I think are for lubrication. And that'll be that. Until some new information comes along. Oof. Hello?
Hello,
Hello?
Dayton.
Yes.
This is Sonny Morehouse calling.
Hey, Sonny, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, I sent you an email, and I was reading it and wanted to make sure you didn't take it as being not kind.
Oh, I don't think that's possible, but I didn't read it yet, but I would never take anything you say as not kind.
And I never mean anything in any way like that. Anytime I suggest or comment, it is meant to be helpful.
I assume so, but like I said, I haven't read it, so
Okay.
I'll wait until I read it to be offended.
Well, I was commenting about a graver sharpening tool,
Oh, yeah,
and I emailed you a picture of one.
yeah,
Now, mine are vintage. I search high and low for vintage stuff, so pretty much all the tools I use are old.
yeah, me too.
And I've just had really good luck with them. I bought newer tools, and I usually throw them away.
Yeah,
They just don't do it. They look right and they look like they'll work, but they just fail. They just don't. They're just not made good. But so mine is vintage now. I did look on Amazon. You can get them, even a Crocker style one, new, and they don't look too bad. I just don't buy new ones. I just search out the old ones and I buy them. But what a graver sharpener will allow you to do is adjust and give yourself the correct angle on your graver.
yeah. I just did one by hand and it worked okay, but it's really difficult to keep it at a consistent angle.
The problem is when you're using your hand, your movement is elliptical.
Yeah,
It's just nature.
yeah,
It's the way we work, the way our the mechanical work of our hands is elliptical. And to create a perfect angle and to create a perfect straight cut like that is extremely difficult. I'm sure that with much practice you could probably do it. But I found that using a graver holder that you can set the angles on and then to run it across diamond plates, sharpening plate,
yeah,
works the best. In other words, when you're done doing it with the tool, you end up with a perfect angle and a perfect edge.
yeah. Cool.
And that perfect edge is what gives you your perfect cuts.
Yeah. Cool.
But I was reading my email. I already sent it, and I wanted to make sure you didn't take it to me.
Nope.
And I didn't even comment on your video on there because I didn't want to come off as being mean. I'm certainly not a know-it-all. I don't consider myself.
No, that's cool. I appreciate you sharing whatever it is. I'm just cleaning the lathe now and trying to get it cleaned up and ready to go again. So I'm in the middle of a video, so you may make a guest appearance on.
Well, I apologize. I did not mean to interrupt you. I just had gotten home from work and I had a moment, and I was thinking about things, and I wanted to talk to you about graver sharpening because I was watching your video and it was painful.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. Trying to do anything with that rust on there is ridiculous. Hey, another thing that's funny.
Oh my goodness!
Just
things were
just an hour or so ago, this other viewer of mine, Vladislav, who's in where is he? Somewhere over here in Europe. Anyway, he called me and was telling me also about the lathe, like that I have to buy a cross slide now, and I should have bought a full set with a cross slide. And he's always scolding me for not buying enough.
Well, you know what? I don't even own a cross slide. I have a very good Levin lathe. And it came with all kinds of colors, everything else except for a cross slide.
Yeah.
And the only reason I've not purchased a cross slide yet is they want as much for the cross slide as the whole lathe. Yeah,
that's what he's saying. But the thing is, I want to just, I like to start with a cheap tool, figure it out, understand what I'm looking at, and learn as much as I can. And then, you can always buy something else and turn over what you have to someone else.
I mean, I've got 5 of them myself, so.
Yeah.
And that's what happens is if you go to estate sales or you go where someone's selling, like I got mine because I knew someone else, he goes to estate sales.
Yeah.
So if he finds watchmaking stuff, he'll call me up. He's like, hey, Sonny, I think I just found some stuff that's right down your alley.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm stuck because as soon as he shows it to me, I'm buying it. So.
Yeah.
So, I've got many of those graver sharpeners and pointing tools and multiples of everything. I'm becoming like a watch tool shop.
That's cool. I'm envious.
But I went from not having anything to having lots.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting the idea, especially when you look at Watchmaker estates, that's kind of what happens.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I didn't want to take a whole lot of your time. I don't want to interrupt your video. I also read someone else has commented that they felt that those screws on the side of your tailstock would adjust the...
Yeah, I got that out. The screws came out. I just had to be a little bit persistent. And then I found there was a shim in there. And so it is... Yeah, it's shimmable. And I re-shimmed it, and it seems fine now. So... But that's definitely, that can definitely be worked out, made more accurate.
Did you get some more belt material to make a new belt for it?
Yeah, I already had some, so I got that. I also got a counter shaft because it was cheap, like $100 for a matching counter shaft. That's the thing with the extra.
Oh, that is very inexpensive for those.
Yeah. So that'll allow me to move the motor further away and also have a couple different belts running different things if I eventually do that. So
that's really where those counter shafts came in. Well, there's 2 reasons. Number one is power. The counter shaft was
you can use it like a gear ratio thing. Yeah.
Exactly. The old watchmaking motors that they were using just didn't have the torque. And by using the counter shaft, you're basically creating a gearing like a bicycle.
Yeah.
And then you can gear it down and get better torque and lower your speed rates. Also, the old watchmaking motors didn't have the speed adjustability, and that was one of the other things they did. I don't use one, and nor will I be using one because I've got a Shoreline motor. Yeah. And it'll actually, if you look into the Shoreline motors, the Shoreline lathe motors, they are high torque, low speed. You can actually dial it down to almost not turning at all.
Yeah.
But even at no turning, at almost no rotation, you can't stop it turning.
Yeah.
It's got massive amounts of torque.
Yeah.
And so even when I dial it down to almost not turning at all, just barely rotating, you can still grab it and you cannot stop it from turning.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a good servo motor.
So with the Sureline motor, you can you don't need a counter shaft or anything like that. But the flip side is my motor costs $500.
Yeah.
So there's always you always pay for whatever you do.
Yeah.
All right, Dayton, I'm going to get off the phone. I apologize. I did not try and take. I'm not trying to take a bunch of your time. Pleasure talking to you.
You too. Thanks a lot, Sonny. Yeah.
The video you're working on. Bye.
Thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right, that's funny. Got everybody concerned about my lathe adventure. Okay, so I couldn't get the headstock off of this. I just cleaned it up, and this thing, this will push this on. And I think I could take that play out by pushing, just continue to go a little bit. But first I want to try to put some oil in the places where I believe there's oil. Push down and turn. Okay. Down and turn. Nice. Okay, so I see there's an oil thingy here. And here. Now, if this, first of all, the dust cover is going to need to go on there. Next, I want the flatter side of this to go this way. That's the way to put a hole in your thumb. And then eat some oil. Okay. So the other thing I want to do is I want to see if I can tighten. Oh wait, this needs to be tight first of all. And then So that worked. The whole thing is pressed together. I could push, I could force it out, but I didn't, so I'm not gonna do it right now. Dust cover. It's such a simple, the lathe is such a simple device actually. Like, I don't think there's even a bearing in there. I think it's just steel on steel and oil. It's cool though. All right, so that's my fail at restoring the lathe for the time being. I'm just thinking this did push that on. Hammering it would push it out. I could just do what Chris did in his video. I just wasn't brave enough at this point. Next time I'll do it. All right, thanks for watching. Wait, there's one other thing I wanted to do. I want to fix that belt and run this thing. Next video. Nobody needs to see that. Heat that up, stick that together, or use some new belt, heat it up, stick it together. Nobody needs to see that. All right, thanks for watching.